Good morning, all. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, all. We have audio. Okay, I got to pay attention here because I am currently in a trade. And it looks like I might have to exit right here. I'm just going to go ahead and exit. All right, I just pulled the plug. I was targeting this previous day low, but I was going to wait for a delta squeeze here, a clear delta squeeze, which just happened right when I went live here. So I was actually a little late on it. See this green triangle right here? We had a little bit of a, starting to put in a little bit more of a positive slope on the delta. The delta was getting really thin and we ticked up above the delta. So I should have pulled the plug right here, but I ended up getting out at 287.75. So right here, it's still a pretty good trade. 76 3/4. Not a bad way to start the morning. If you're curious about the entry here, we had our delta cross right here where the delta crossed under the confirmation line. We have our negative slope on the confirmation line. So at that time, we're looking for shorts. And for the step 2, we wait for the signal to pull in the upper red zone. And it ticked down right there. So that's the entry. And after it got going, I moved my stop over the high there. So this ended up being looks like a just over 15 risk to reward on there, or 15 to 1, or 1 to 15, however you say that. And then originally I was targeting this daily open area, but I was waiting for the delta to show me like a clear exit, which I was here. We started to get a positive slope on the delta right here, but it was still negative when we ticked up. And so what I did is I actually ended up moving my stop just above this high right here of that candle. So when that happened, instead of just pulling the plug, I moved my stop over the high and it never hit it, and we continued lower. So then I just waited for the next one, which was right here. Actually, I was getting on stream there, so I was a little late exiting, but I should have actually been out at 277.50. Anyway, like I said, not a bad way to start the day. But now that we have the delta crossing the confirmation line right here, now I'm a little bit more bullish, but we got to wait for the 5-minute to catch up. The 5-minute is still looking very, very bearish here. The delta's falling pretty aggressively. We are technically bullish on the 15 as long as the delta can stay above that rising confirmation line. So technically we are bullish over there. Now on the hourly, we did just get a this same setup where I entered over here. We had the delta cross and then the tick down from the red zone. That's the same thing going on over here on the hourly. So we got the delta cross, and we got the tick down from that upper power zone as the step number 2 here. right there. So the hourly still potentially could have a lot of downside to it. So we'll just have to keep a close eye on that. We got the market open here in about 8 minutes. Today is FOMC day. Let's look at the news today. Looks like the next medium impact news event is at 9:30 a.m. I'm on Central Time, so that's my time. After that, we have the federal funds rate at 1. FOMC economic predictions at 1. FOMC statement at 1. And the press conference at 1:30. So we'll probably see some fireworks then. And then tomorrow, looks like we have final GDP at 7:30. Unemployment, 7:30. This is all Central Time again. Final GDP price index, medium. So most of the news tomorrow is at 7:30. We have existing home sales at 9. So tomorrow we should move a little bit during the morning. This morning we had building permits at 7:30, but it was a medium impact event. The market's been moving pretty nice though, so I am happy with it. Go back to the main screen here. So 5 minutes still bearish, so there could be another short in here. However, I'm not really interested in it because we've had this delta cross down at the bottom. So I'm going to try, last couple days I've been trying to stick to just trading more in line with the confirmation line. So I think my win rate and results are a little bit better that way. So, instead of trying to catch every single little move and every single little setup, I'm going to be focusing on, if this confirmation line's heading down, I'm looking for shorts. If this confirmation line starts heading up, like it's currently trying to turn here, then I'm going to be looking for longs. But like I said, that doesn't mean that there's still not a short in here. The 5 minute is still, that's another thing you can do. If you want a little bit more confluence, the 5 minute is definitely short territory. So as long as that confirmation line's headed down, we could look for shorts on the 5. But with the open here in 5 minutes, things can turn around pretty quick. So it's almost like an entirely different session, or the market can totally reset on that 8:30 candle. Jason Richardson, good morning. Yeah, today should be an interesting day. Should be fun. Jaywaz, good morning. It's nice to see the market already start to move, even before the big fireworks today. L. Chalwell, good morning. So yeah, not a whole lot of news until FOMC. So it'll be interesting to see if we kind of chop sideways or if we drift in a certain direction. A lot of times before FOMC, it likes to drift. Could be could trend, but it could be a choppy trend, or what I call a choppy trend. I don't really like that market condition personally. I much prefer, nice swings ranging sideways, or a strong trend, not necessarily a choppy trend. But we could get that maybe first hour or so, and then maybe it slows down a little. So if I ended up getting up a little bit earlier and getting my daughter ready for school earlier, I would have actually jumped into short earlier on this. Because you'll see, like, this confirmation line, for the most part, has been heading down ever since, over here. It looks like, 5:45 in the morning, Central Time, somewhere in there. So if you were trying to trade that, you would have been looking at, this. Grab the wrong handle there. This tick down here could have been a short. This one from the power zone is the best short opportunity. If you look at that one, that would have been right there. Really good risk to reward on that. And if you just took it to the delta cross in the lower power zone, that would have been, either this candle or this candle, depending on your risk appetite. Could have been 20 points or so. But so far, this is like textbook cumulative delta stuff, which I like to see. All right, we are open. Got previous day low sitting down here at 244.25. We are below both the standard VWAP and the anchored VWAP. Anchored VWAP's the orange line up here. So yeah, it looks like it is going to try to push lower. That 5-minute is still strong, ticking down under the delta. That's pretty bearish on the 5. See if we take out that previous day low and then potentially turn around. You know, and once we got going here, that's actually what I was targeting, is that previous day low after we got under the daily open. But I got forced out over here. Would have been nice to hang on to that. We also got a pivot line down here at 230.25. So it looks like we did take out that low. If we did, it's just barely. So the low, previous day low is 244.25, and we made it to, where's the low? $244. So by one tick, we did break the low. Kind of feels like we're going to keep pushing though, and at least come down to this pivot maybe. The delta is thickening back up, starting to cross back under the confirmation line. Delta on the 5 is getting thicker. And on the 15, yeah, we do have this overall positive slope over there, but we are flirting with closing under that confirmation line. So if we do that, we're still under at 844 or 845. 15-minute will flip bearish. Still dropping hard. You know, I opened up my TradingVIew this morning and it looks different to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they did an update. You know what I think it is? This highlighted outline on the panels when you select them. Maybe it's just me, but for some reason I thought that the highlighted outline was a lot less like in your face, like a little bit more subtle. I know I didn't change any colors or anything, so I don't know where you changed that. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but just curious. Anybody know where to change that? I think it's more so just because I'm not used to it. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. All right, well, we took out that pivot. Took out previous day low. We do have some bullish divergence at the moment. You know, we got a higher high, or I'm sorry, higher low on the signal. We got a lower low on the price. Kind of tempted to go long here, but the delta's not really agreeing with it, so I'm gonna wait. There's the pop. I felt it coming. So yeah, this tick up right here, that's where I was thinking about going long. Right there. Let's just see if it would hit my 31.25 points. That would bring it right up to that fair value gap, which is right here. Yeah, I probably should have taken that. I told myself I was going to be more aggressive on these opens, and I still find myself a little gun shy. It didn't quite hit that fair value gap, but I think it's probably coming here. put a limit order on the 8 SMA, and it didn't quite get there. I thought maybe I'd get picked up, but no dice. There it goes. It taps right into that fair value gap, so that would have been a winner. Just canceled my order. But like I said earlier, you know, as long as we've had this delta cross right here in that lower power zone, that's when I turn bullish. So even though the price has dropped, that actually led to a better trade there with the bullish divergence. I was just a little gun shy and didn't take it. As long as that confirmation line continues to kind of creep up and have an overall positive slope to it, as long as that's happening, I'm going to continue looking for longs. So we made it back up to that session VWAP, and looks like we just kissed it there at the top of that fair value gap. We also have the 50 right there in the same spot. We also have a order block sitting up here we got to get through. Few-minute range today is it's pretty wide actually. Might not be much of a range, we'll see. We'll mark it just in case we end up chopping in here. The 15 is technically bearish now. I'll go ahead and flip that. So we are full bear on the higher time frames. So we'll see if the 1 decides to fall back in line with that, but currently the 1's bullish, so. So in my mind, trading the in the direction of the entry time frame, that's the most important. That's the highest priority. A lot of people look at that the other way around, but I kind of view that a little differently. It's nice if you can get, you know, full alignment with the higher time frames and trade in that direction. But if that's the only thing you ever do, you miss out on a lot of opportunity. But that is an approach. You could just always wait for when everything is in full alignment. You just end up leaving a lot of stuff on the table. So we're consolidating here. It looks like it's trying to flag out the bull flag. However, if you look at the delta is really weak. It's actually starting to turn negative right now. So even if that was to try to break through the top there, I think it would probably fail. You guys are quiet this morning. Everybody must be tired. I was really tired yesterday. Still kind of tired today, but not so bad. I got to bed a little bit earlier last night than I did the night before. I didn't spend as much time on TikTok looking at UFO videos last night like I did the night before. That's always a good time. Looks like it is trying to have somewhat of a bull flag breakout here. The delta is getting thicker, so this actually might turn out to be a success for the bulls. See how it started so thin and weak though? And then it kind of kicked into gear. Sean Brown, looking to see if you shared your template at some point. Yeah, my template is it's available free for download in the Cumulative Delta playbook. So the link is in the top banner there. Just go to TOMMYBOTS.com/playbook. You could download that, and my full template's in there. You do have to have a Zeiierman subscription, though, in order to have access to the indicators. All right, we're back there at VWAP now. That's the blue line. So if you were following the playbook exactly, and we're looking at this at the bull flag breakout setup, I mean, technically this met it. I just didn't care too much for this particular setup, but if you followed that, this is in the playbook. If you used an 80 tick stop, looks like you would have got stopped out, so you would have had to, have a little bit more on it, but it looks like that could have worked out as long as you didn't get stopped out there. Awesome, Sean. Yeah, if you download the playbook, there's a link in there that you can just click on and it'll load it right up, and then you can click the copy button in TradingView. It'll copy it to your profile, and then from there you can make whatever changes you want to make. We are getting a tick down from that upper power zone. But as I said earlier, I'm going to try to stick to trades in the direction of the confirmation line slope today. So even though this might be a successful short, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to wait. Notice how it consolidated underneath this order block. And I noticed that it does this a lot, where it won't touch the order block. It'll consolidate just underneath it, and then it blasts right through. It's like it knows it needs to build up all that energy in order to do that. We're right back there at VWAP, but we're still under VWAP, so that is one thing that looks kind of nice for the bears with that tick down from the upper power zone. It's right there at VWAP, which we know it likes to bounce off VWAP early in the day. So I would not be surprised if we end up turning somewhere around here, unless we can get on top of it. It does look like it wants to push over, doesn't it? Got the daily open sitting up here at 306. It's also exactly the top of this Browning formation. And it happens to be the top of the 15-minute range. So far, that tick down from the upper power zone is holding. For the bears. Did we take out that high? Yes, we did. That would make more sense. Okay, so maybe I just need to redraw my broad information here. Looks like it might be something more like that. Still holding above that 50. We're right in between the anchored VWAP and the standard VWAP. That's usually an area of turbulence. Might have had that drawn right the first time. We'll see. Trying to break out of the top of that 15-minute range too. We'll see if we can hold above it. Starting to flash a lower high in that upper power zone. A little bit of bearish divergence going on too. Potential bearish divergence here. It wasn't official, it was just flashing, so if this candle closes this way, it'll be official. I'm tempted to short up here just because we're at the top of that broadening formation, but again, I'm going to try to only trade with the flow today. So even though that might work out, I'm still looking for a long, and I'm not interested in a long right there. Delta is weak though. Gosh, I'm tempted to short that. So the lower high was right here. That's the close of this candle. It's actually an up close candle, which are really nice if you get those. We'll simulate it. We'll see how it plays out here. But, you know, if we reject off the top of that broadening formation, the target ends up being, well, ends up being this low down here. Somewhere around this vicinity. Still holding above that 50. Still have that rising delta. It was getting thin and spotty, but you know, we got a little chop in here. But the delta is rising. We're getting a tick up above a rising delta. That's pretty bullish. We're sitting there right at that daily open. Will we reject? Starting to put in another lower high near that upper power zone. A little bit of bearish divergence as well. So I would not be surprised if it falls apart here. Still no trade for me, though. I don't really see a long that I like, and I don't see a short that I like yet either. Generally speaking, if the confirmation line is headed up like this, any short opportunities that present themselves while this delta is rising, those don't necessarily have the highest win rate, so that's why I'm not taking that right now. Even though, like, everything else about this I like that it's at the top of this broadening formation. I like that it's at the daily open. I like that it's putting in multiple lower highs on the signal line with higher highs on the price. Lots of bearish divergence there. But I'm trying to follow a plan today. Yeah, it's just still trying to grind its way through. Maybe it just needs to kiss the 200 first. We got the 200 sitting at like 314.50. And again, I am not in a trade. I'm not in a short. I'm simulating this one, pretending that I actually took that first lower high here. But so far, it's just a lot of grindiness, and it's kind of what I expected earlier. Is from now until FOMC, I know a lot of times it likes to grind like this and just drift in one direction. It's not the best trading when it's doing that. Anytime that delta is thin, it is not very good trading conditions. Even though we got this rising delta there, it's rising really nicely. But it's thin. And when it's thin, you're going to get this grindy looking price action. Notice earlier on these trades, see how the delta is just a lot thicker? And there's a lot more consistency to it. And I mean, you want to take advantage when it's weak like that. So right there at the weak point, that's where you get in. But you want the delta to have some sort of, thickness to it. You want there to be some sort of conviction in the move, not all this hesitation. So yeah, see, we're still rising, but we just flipped negative right here at 919. And the slope is usually an early predictor of where the price is going to go, even if it's negative. Still just doesn't want to drop. It's that delta slope holding it up. All right, we are at the 200. See if the 200 gives it permission to drop. Delta's still looking really weak. Back down to the 50. Starting to lose VWAP here too as well. Well, so far this price action is pretty darn boring. To be expected, I guess. We are getting a tick up from that green zone, but I'm still not very interested in that for long. Sean Brown, any insights about the logic of this oscillator type? Cumulative Delta. I think that's what you mean by CD. Curious how he took a normal cumulative delta and turned it into an oscillator. Well, I'm curious about that as well. I don't know. I don't know what is under the hood. All I know is that these patterns play out over and over again, and they tend to work pretty well. I've been using it for, I think, a little over 2 years now, and I like what I see. So I'm curious, but I don't know the exact details about how he was able to put that together. It is definitely very different from the normal cumulative delta, that's for sure. I think it works a heck of a lot better, in my opinion. Kevin Cobb, have you thought about using the NQ for the cumulative delta reading? I find it more accurate than the micro. You know, I've actually found it the other way around. I found the micro to be more accurate. I mean, they're both going to be very similar, but there's going to be very small differences between the two. other guys on here that have traded with me for a long time have, we've gone back and forth about that in the past, and we'll see a setup on MNQ that didn't quite get there on NQ. So I don't know. There's probably going to be days where NQ is a little bit more accurate and days where MNQ is a little bit more accurate, but I've just always stuck to MNQ. Let's actually pull up NQ and just take a look. What contract do we use in H? So yeah, it's, very similar. Look how thin. So we got a thin spotty chop box here. Yeah. Got one right here. Got another one right here. And now let's flip to MNQ and see if that looks the same. Yeah, I mean, it's virtually identical. NQ, MNQ, NQ, MNQ. Yeah. Notice the signal though, like there's where you can see one of those differences. So on MNQ, we didn't get our lower high till here, but you see this little tiny area where there was like a little speed bump there. So it didn't quite trigger, but it almost did. On NQ, we did end up getting a lower high right here. And then this one ended up not being a lower high. It's actually a higher high. So like those are the types of differences that you're going to see. I mean, they're very, very small. But I'm looking at the price action. The wicks, everything look, I mean, almost identical. Can't even really tell the difference. Still just kind of chopping around here. And holding under that broadening formation. Or holding inside it, I should say. It's trying to expand. Earlier when I said that the slope is usually an early predictor where price is going to go, even if it's negative. So far, that is holding true. It just, when it gets thin like that, it can just get really grindy and choppy getting there. Well, that trade that we're simulating is still valid. Kind of glad I'm not in it, though. Also, notice the 8. That's the white line. The 8 SMA. We've just been chopping that this whole time. Trading is no fun when we're chopping the 8. See, earlier this trade, see how we stayed on one side of the 8 the whole time? That's when trading's fun. Well, the delta is almost to that upper power zone. Looks like it's trying to potentially roll over here. Sean Brown, what defines the signal line and the confirmation line? The signal line is more of a that follows more of the price action. So that's a signal corresponding directly to the price action. The confirmation line is just a moving average of the delta candles. So if you look at my settings, for my confirmation line, I'm using a 75. So that's basically a moving average of the last 75 delta candles. And so all it really does is it smooths out where the buying pressure is, buying and selling pressure. So when there's a lot of selling pressure, so see when you start to get that negative slope, what you're doing is you're looking for pullbacks on the signal that coincide with the direction of where the higher pressure is. So if you have more selling pressure, you're going to have a negative slope on this confirmation line. So you should be looking for shorts, and the signal helps you identify the precise points where you should jump into those shorts on those pullbacks. And then vice versa. See how the confirmation line was heading down this whole time, and then here, when we had this delta cross right there, at that point, we started to move up. So that's how I knew that at this point, I needed to start looking for longs. And if you look at the price action, from the, that point was in this area here, and price ended up moving down, but the buying pressure was moving up. So that ended up creating a bullish divergence. And from that point on, we've been heading up ever since. That's why I've been looking for longs here. But if you wanted to if you wanted to make this really simple, I mean, that's the way that you do it. You just look for the slope of the confirmation line. Put a little arrow on the screen just to kind of remind you of what direction you need to be trading. And then watch the signal line and wait for those pullbacks. Hopefully that makes sense. And then the thickness of the delta candles, that gives you more of an idea of conviction in the move. You know, are buyers really stepping in aggressively? If they are, those delta candles are going to be really thick. Like look at the 5 over here. See how those delta candles just get thicker and thicker and thicker on that move down? Well, there was a lot more aggressive sellers stepping in. So you could see that visually. When it's thin, there's no real aggression to either side, and that's when you're going to get chopped up. Like, see this thin stuff right here? See how like the price was just not really doing anything? Go either way. But the signal in these power zones, you know, when you're kind of chopping sideways like that, when this confirmation line doesn't really have a slope, it's more flat sideways, that's when you want to take advantage of these power zones for your entries. So like there's a long here, and sure enough, that's your long move. And you could see the aggressive buyers stepping in the whole way up there. That's something that you don't really get with the standard cumulative delta that you see on other platforms. You can't see all of that. So in order to make this work really well, I mean, you have to know where the pressure is, and you also have to have that signal line in there to help you time it. And then normally, you know, if you start seeing a lot of these chop boxes and there's not a lot of conviction in the move, that's when it's a good time to go enjoy the day, walk away, go grab a coffee, go do something else. That's, you know, I think that is one of the most overlooked features of this indicator, is that you can see that. It'll tell you when you should walk away. Now, whether you do walk away, that's, you know, I'm guilty of not walking away and keep trying to force trades that aren't there. But it tells you when you should walk away. Not a lot of indicators can do that. By the way, this trade that we were simulating did get stopped out had we taken that. So good thing we didn't take that trade, huh? I know, even if I did take that trade, I never would have let it drag out that long. That's one thing that I can't stand, is when you get in a trade and it just drags out sideways for forever and ever. Earlier today, I was talking about how the market likes to drift in a certain direction to FOMC, and it can be a choppy drift, and that's exactly what we're seeing. See, it's just it's a mess. We're going in a direction, but it's a mess. Maybe now that we're above this broadening formation, we'll start to open up here, and the delta candles will start to get thicker, and Get a little bit more conviction in this move. Sean says, yeah, my biggest issue is by far over trading. That's most people's issue. You know, when the price is moving, it's easy to trade, right? But it's the times when you get into the sideways chop that end up destroying you and end up destroying all the gains that you made previously. I'm still guilty of that. But yeah, if you're looking for an easy way to know when to walk away, just look for a thin, spotty delta. Earlier we labeled this 15 as bearish, but it's probably more neutral, just because that confirmation line's pretty flat around the center. We got a tick down from that upper power zone here. We got a tick up from the lower power zone here. And as long as that confirmation line kind of stays near the center of the indicator, these trades from power zone to power zone are pretty awesome usually. Let's go to the 15-minute chart and just look at that. So if we were on the 15, trading the 15, our power zone short would have been here. If you take it to the power zone down here, I know it's kind of hard to see this with all the crap on the screen, but but it looks like that would have been 82 points down. And then if you flipped right there, so far you'd be another 57 up. Now, that's taking this last tick down. Now, you know, if you were taking the ones prior to that, obviously that wouldn't have worked. You would have got stopped out on one or two of those. But one thing that you can do to minimize that is like what I'm trying to do today, only trade in the direction of the confirmation line slope. So if you look here, like the overall direction here is you know, from this point over here, once we had that cross, it's more positive. So instead of taking the one from the upper power zone, you could have just sat on your hands and waited for the one at the lower power zone, and then now you'd be up, you know, you wouldn't have had any losses then. You'd be up like 63 points now if you're trading the 15. I typically do not trade the 15. I only look at it to get more of a sense of what the overall market's doing. I still prefer entries on the 1. It's just a lot more opportunity throughout the day. The delta is looking better at the moment. So another thing about those periods of chop and consolidation, they don't last forever. So if you do walk away, it doesn't mean you have to walk away for the whole day. It means you should just sit on your hands until things start looking normal again. So if we look back here, if we weren't looking at broadening formations, weren't looking at the daily open, weren't looking at the 200, and weren't looking at VWAP, and you were only looking at the cumulative delta, we had the rising delta slope, we had the rising confirmation line. Right here was our first pullback to the green zone. That is a long entry according to the playbook. This one, you could have taken this one too. However, it's in the red zone, so I prefer the ones in the green zone. So if you would have taken that and we're only looking at the cumulative delta, this told you to long right here. And that definitely would have been a winner, even though it was in chop. And that's what I mean, like the slope of the delta is usually a predictor of price, where it's going to go. So it's definitely something you want to pay attention to. And I mean, you can see, like, I didn't get in that trade. I missed it. And that's because I was looking at all of those other variables. And I tell myself this a lot. Sometimes I wonder if I just need to take everything off my screen, including the VWAP, everything. Just look at the cumulative delta. I think I would be much better off. There's so many trades I miss just because I'm putting other ideas in my head. We are flashing a tick down from the upper power zone on the 5. Definitely something you want to pay attention to. Looks like that'll be official in about 10 seconds. Well, this is kind of odd for me today. I've only had one trade, and it is almost 10 o'clock Central Time. Usually I have like 8 or 9 trades in by now. Maybe I need to do less talky, more tradey. Man, my back has been itching a lot lately. I need to get a back scratcher. Make it easier. Yeah, wintertime, dry skin. I think there's something to that. As soon as the heat really kicks on, it dries everything out in the house. And it has been cold lately. Let's see what it is today. It was below zero the other day, but now it's not so bad. It's 23. Supposed to get like a snowstorm today. At least that's what they were talking a couple days ago. Let's see if they're still talking about that. I don't see anything about snow anymore. Now they're saying Friday snow showers. Or wait. It says I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm not in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'll just look on my watch. Well, on my watch it says snow today and tomorrow. So we will see. Well, we ended up getting a delta squeeze for a short here. I think I'm going to give that a try. I think I noticed it just a tad too late. I wasn't staring at the screen. But anyway, for those of you that don't know what that is, we got a negative sloping delta, and we got a tick down under a negative sloping delta near that upper power zone. That's a short. So the entry is right here. And I have my limit order sitting up there, but I missed it. And I just got tagged in at 331.75. We are flashing a tick up from the green zone there, so if we end up getting that tick up, I'm just going to move my stop to break even. All right, stops at break even. And it just took me out. So we'll wait for the next one. I'm going to go refresh my coffee. I'll be right back. Like the delta's still thin. More chop. All that there's a thin, spotty, choppy delta. Not ideal trading conditions. Still chopping that 8 as well. So at the moment, we have a little bit of discrepancy. We got a falling delta, but we got a rising confirmation line. So usually in that area, there's a little bit of turbulence. So if that delta continues to fall and we get the signal back up here in the red zone, and then we tick back down, that would set up another delta squeeze situation for a potential short. However, if this delta, starts to turn back up here and we start putting in another positive sloping delta, which it looks like that might be what we're doing here. If that's the case, then that takes that off the table. John Duran, do you use the cumulative delta to help manage a trade once you are in a trade? Yes, I do. That's actually the way that I prefer to manage the trade. But I typically only do that if there's momentum or conviction in the move. It's like that's what I did earlier here today. So once I got into this short on this tick down, you see in the delta candles, we started getting momentum to the downside and we were thickening up. When I see that, I like to wait for the exit signal on the cumulative delta instead of just, taking a specific take profit point. I'll still like target like an extreme, like I was targeting the previous day low, wherever that is, right here. I was targeting the previous day low. So if we can hit the extreme, I'll take it. But otherwise, I wait for here when we got this first tick up above this. See my little arrow here? We had a little bit of a rising delta, but the delta was still negative. So when we got this tick up above a rising delta, I didn't just pull the plug because it was still negative. If it was positive, I would have just pulled the plug. But it was still negative, so I put my stop above this candle, and then we dropped again. And then so I waited for the next time that happened, which was right here. We got a tick up, and the delta was really thin, starting to turn positive. So I should have pulled the plug right on this green triangle, but that's right when I was opening up the stream today. So I got out a little late. Should have got out down here. But yes, to answer your question, I certainly use this as my exit. But only when we have momentum. Like like right now, if I was to enter a trade, I would probably just stick to my standard is like 125 ticks. So I would try to get 125 out of it if I could get it, just because there's not a lot of conviction either up or down. We did end up putting in a lower high on the signal here. It's right there at the midline. I would have preferred if it got, further up in the red zone. But technically, you could short that because the delta still overall is falling there. So if you would have shorted this one, you would have been in right here. And with a thin delta like that, I'd still be targeting like 125 ticks or target the VWAP. You know, if you want to be really conservative, target the daily open. I like having the arrows on the screen just to remind me of the direction of the flow and where my brain should be. See, we're ticking up now. Not quite in the power zone. It looks like it might have just kissed it a little bit. So if I was in that trade, I would definitely be using the cumulative delta to exit there if it was to tick up in this area. Because those power zones are they're pretty darn powerful. If we're going to start ranging sideways, that's really it kind of marks the extreme, if that makes sense. So if you start to get a tick up in a power zone, it usually likes to flip around and turn the other way. So if you're targeting the daily open, you would have just hit that. Let's see where my 125 ticks is. Looks like it's just under VWAP. We'll see if it hits that. Looks like I would have barely got it there to the tick. There we go. That would have hit. And the main reason why I did not take that trade is because I was over here pointing other things out, and it wasn't on my radar. In other words, I wasn't paying attention. So yeah, if I was still in this trade, and if I was short, and we're ticking up from that lower power zone, I would use that as my exit on the close of that candle. But see, before any of this ever even happened, the delta slope told us ahead of time where the price was going to go. We have the negative slope, and yeah, it wasn't super clean. You know, we got this signal here, and then it popped back against us, but it gave us another one. I wasn't paying attention. But that slope near that upper power zone, that told us ahead of time where price was going to go. So you can visually see that the buyers are stepping away before the price drops. So now that we've had this delta cross right there, and the delta is now under that confirmation line, the confirmation line should start to roll over, and we should start to get a negative slope to it. So it is at that point that I am now more bearish than bullish. That is the same as what happened earlier today over here. So after that point, I was bullish looking for longs. I just didn't really get a good long opportunity. It was just really, that's that grindy price action. So yes, we were moving up, but it was a grind. I don't really like trading those. So now that I have flipped, and now we are bearish. By the way, it teaches you that in the playbook too, how to read that. But now that we're bearish, what we should be looking for, or what I'm going to be looking for, is for the signal to come up here somewhere and tick down in the red zone. So you're basically waiting for that next pullback in a downtrend, assuming you're going to be in a downtrend. That also coincides with what's going on the 5 at the moment. We got that tick down. That was that other precursor that let us know what was going to happen there. We got that tick down from the upper power zone on the 5. So that happened at 950. So on the 1, the 950 candle is, look at that. It's literally the top of this move right there. But the close of that 950 candle is actually 955. So really, I mean, you're looking at 955, which is 4, 5. So that's the close of this candle. The 5 was telling us we were going to go, or we should be looking for shorts at that point. Now, if we don't quite make it to that upper power zone and we come up here under that delta and the delta still falling pretty aggressively, I'll still take that as a short. Ideally, though, if it's in the green zone, I prefer the delta candles to be getting fatter and not tapering down. So you want the momentum to be increasing if you're going to do that. This is a classic stairs up, elevator down scenario. Yeah, you wait so long for a good setup, and then if you're not paying attention, like I wasn't paying attention right there, then you miss it. All it takes is missing that one candle, and the train leaves the station. You know what I should have done in hindsight, looking back? You guys always hear me talk about entering on the 8 SMA, which I only do that after I get a signal. So here's the signal. That's the one I missed at 10:08. That happened right here. I still had an opportunity to jump in this short right here, which actually would have been preferred entry because there's literally zero drawdown on that. You get in on that wick right when it kisses the 8. And there she goes. JWaz says, what a great power zone to power zone short. Yeah, you mean on the 5? Yeah, that's short on the power zone. And you know, even looking at the 15, we got that tick down right here, right under a falling delta. It flattened out for a little bit, but on the 15, that's still a valid short right there. Oh, you mean, yeah, on the 1? Yeah. That is a very nice trade on the 1. I wish I didn't miss it, though. That delta is falling very aggressively now. It's not very thick, but the slope is aggressive. Can you guys hear my dog snoring? Oh, she just stopped now. It's not me sleeping over here. It's my dog. Well, our confirmation line definitely has a negative slope now. That is for sure. JWaz is getting aggressive. He took the power zone long, huh? You know, the second tick up from that power zone is usually a pretty good one. As long as the delta's tapering, and in this case it was. So hopefully it's the second one you're talking about there. But yeah, that's a good long. Nice, Jay Waz. Yeah, I love those where they just pop right up because it gives you an opportunity to move to break even if you were really questioning it, because you are kind of going against the flow when you do that. But that's power zone trading for you. You have to be more of a contrarian to do those trades. Oh, you got your 80 ticks on that? Yeah, you definitely got 80 ticks. And then some. Still waiting to see if it'll hit my 125, which is right up there at the anchored VWAP. Wouldn't be surprised if it kisses that. And there it is. It would have got 125. Back to VWAP even. So far, that sucker's run 48 points. Stealth, have you tried Heikinashi? It smooths out the delta. Yes, I have tried it, and it does smooth out the delta. I still prefer just regular candles, though. You guys want to see what that looks like? I'll change over to Heikinashi. And, you know, we still have our chop boxes in there, but it's just not as, it's not as sensitive. In this particular case, that first tick up from the power zone, looks like that would have worked. So yeah, I have looked at this. It does work. I still just prefer the more granular detail with the normal candles. That delta really turned on a dime, didn't it? That's what it looks like when you have a V bottom. Well, what do you know, guys? It looks like we have 297 subscribers now. Wow. We are 3 away from 300. Do you think we can hit 300 here? Any of you new guys want to like and subscribe? Put us over 300, and we could celebrate at FOMC with some more trades. $297. We just need 3 more. 3 more people, and then we hit 300. So we got that signal back in that upper power zone now. Got a downward sloping confirmation line. So if we were going to get a tick down from this upper power zone, that would technically be a short, as long as the delta's tapering a little. It's kind of fighting a little bit with what we got going on the 5-minute. Well, the 5-minute's still pretty flat. It's not... We're ticking up from that lower half. It's not quite in the lower power zone, but... But I don't know. This kind of came back with a lot of energy, too. We pretty much just V-bottomed right out of there. We're back above the 50. We're back above VWAP. But we are in that upper power zone. So if we tick down here, I might end up taking a short. All right, I am short there from just under the 8. Might have been a little too early on this one, we'll see. Yeah, it's looking like I might have been just a little too early on this one. We ticked down from the upper power zone, but I prefer if the signal really gets up there. And like I said, this bounce back was so aggressive. When you see that aggressiveness, it usually takes longer to put the brakes on. Tesla just exploded. It's good for my dad. He's got a lot of Tesla. John Durant, did you enter that trade on a market order? I put a limit right under the 8. After it closed under the 8. Right on that, right after that tick down there. Delta is tapering down a little bit. Be nice to see it taper a little bit more and roll over. Right at the bottom of this consolidation. I prefer to be at the top of a consolidation if we're going to short. Probably would have been better off waiting for the second tick down in that upper power zone. Taking a while to slow down here. We are back above the 200 though, so it's not looking great for the bears. Not at the moment. Delta is tapering down though, so just need to get it to roll over. Hopefully my stop is wide enough. We got the second tick down. Again, that higher one would have been a little better. Yeah, right above that 15-minute range. Let's see if we broke 300 subscribers yet. 299. Just need one more. And then we hit the big 300. I know that's small potatoes for a YouTube channel, but hey, you got to start somewhere, right? Well, this just keeps pushing up here. I got a feeling I'm going to get stopped out. Delta did climb back above the confirmation line there. It is just pushing. The signal is starting to slide across the top of the indicator. You stopped for break even with short 23.1375. Ah, that sucks. You know, the worst though is when you get the top of the wick and it hits your full stop and then it drops. Oh, I hate when that happens. All right, we're getting somewhat of a drop now. The Delta's starting to turn negative, so maybe here we get the rollover. Yeah, now dump. The market loves to push you to your limit. Delta is starting to roll over a little bit here. Again, I think I was just too early in my entry. I just had a lot of momentum on that move up. Now it's going to make me pay. Now she's pushing up again. Go ahead and mark off the chop we got here. Yeah, this does kind of feel like a trap. A bull trap, that is. That's what it feels like to me. Still might hit my stop before it goes down, but I'm going to stick with holding this one for now. And we have a gap down here that just feels like it wants to at least go hit that first before going up. Is it going to get me? So close. There she goes. Market made me pay. That's all right. Looks like we're back to our grind up here. Delta's back above the confirmation line. Couldn't hold below it. Confirmation line looks like we could be flattening out here. So maybe we go into more of a range for a while. Now watch. I'll be at the top of that wick, and then she's going to drop here. That's the scenario I was just talking about earlier that I hate. Right when you're at the end of the wick and you're right on the direction, just too early. That's what it's going to do, isn't it? Looks like we just barely took out this wick high over here, which coincides with that pivot line. I mean, it's looking like it wants to build a somewhat of a broadening formation here. We'll see if we end up down there at that yellow line. Well, there's our first lower high on the signal at 10:55. Still have a weak choppy delta. Yep. Oh, that's trading for you. Here we are with our mini broadening formation. The target would be that red line there, the top of that 15-minute range. The extreme target would be the yellow line. Which is right inside that fair value gap. Initial target was just taken out, red line. Looks like we were right about the bull trap there. We got the 11 a.m. hourly flip candle coming up in about 8 seconds. Still trying to work our way down to that yellow line. We did just hit that fair value gap though. Could see a little bounce here. We also got the anchored VWAP down here at 292. And we are flashing a tick up from that lower power zone. Which is long territory here. I'd feel better if we touched the yellow line first, but maybe we'll do it now. That tick up was not official yet. Got this tick up from that lower power zone, about 5 seconds. I'm going to go long here on that. All right, I am long. And I am long from 303.75. Kind of got a lot going on right here. We got the anchored VWAP, we got the normal VWAP, we got all the EMAs all crunched together, we got the daily open right there. In other words, we are pretty flat so far today. FOMC can't get here soon enough. I know. Boring, huh? Man. Makes me wonder if we should end the stream, get some lunch, and come back at 1. Well, we took out this swing low right here, the red line. So as long as we start to move back inside, we can redraw our broadening formation to use this low and then this low. So now we can expect it to go back up to that yellow line and then maybe back down to the bottom yellow line. Good news is that the move should get bigger and bigger if that wants to continue playing out. So we'll wait and see. Still got that nasty looking choppy delta. We're ticking down underneath that delta. We'll see where we close here, but I might move my stop to break even. All right, I just exited at break even. It's just not looking great so far, so better safe than sorry. Well, what do you guys think? Do you guys think we should just come back at 1? This really isn't ideal trading conditions. Maybe come back at 12:50, 10 minutes before FOMC. Just kind of nasty at the moment, so yeah, you know, I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here, but I will come back right before FOMC at 12:50 Central Time, and we'll see if we can get some good moves on FOMC. And so yeah, I'll be back. Sound good? All right, guys, we will see you here in, looks like an hour and 40 minutes or so. All right, we will be back.
Oh, wow, look at that move. It's like one of those big delta candles. I mean, who even trades those tiny candles anymore? I like big fat candles, I can't deny. When the delta's green and riding high, when a chart spikes thick with a bullish wick, I'm glued to my screen, that's the trick. I want to bounce quick, can't let it go. Big delta bars, let that volume show. I'm zooming out, yeah, that's my groove. Catching waves in a delta move. Wanna trade slow? Nah, too tame. This market's got heat, I'm in the game. Delta skinny, not my taste. Fat candles on my happy place. Oh, traders, let me see that line. When the buyers push, I feel just fine. It's the fat move, no squeeze fake. I'm in this trend with no break. Got entries stacking tall, no weak signals, I'm all in, y'all. Skinny candles just ain't for me. Big delta's my golden key. Sitting tight while volume pops. Green wave up won't make me stop. Short candles, nope, they're a bore. Give me fat deltas, I want more. Like those thick moves, yeah, yeah. I wanna break through. You know, don't you fold. Big deltas fill the chart with might. Skinny moves don't make it right. I like big fat candles, can't deny. When the volume surges up so high, skinny trades can take a seat. Big fat deltas are what I beat. up is cause of my happy. Delta skinny, not my taste. Fat candles on my happy place. Oh, traders, let me see that line. When the buyers push, I feel just fine. It's the fat move, no squeeze fake. I'm in this trend with no break. Got entries, stacking tall. No weak signals, I'm all in, y'all. Skinny candles just ain't for me. Big Delta's my golden key. Big Delta's my golden key. Sitting tight while volume pops. Green wave up won't make me stop. Short candles, nope, they're aboard. Give me fat deltas, I want more. Like those thick moves, yeah, yeah. I wanna break through, you know. And hold the blade, don't you fold. Big deltas fill the chart with might. Skinny moves don't make it right. Like those thick moves, yeah, yeah. I wanna break through, you know. Then hold, then play, don't you fold. Big deltas fill the chart